Well, Prime Minister Mark Carney is holding a virtual meeting with the country's premiers today, while the House of Commons is set to vote on his major projects and internal trade bill. For the very latest, let's go live to Ottawa now. That is where we find CTV's Jeremy Charon. Jeremy, thanks for joining us. Tell us more about the Prime Minister's meeting with the country's premiers. What do we expect to come out of that?
Yeah, Lena, look, I think it's expected that this will be a conversation with the premiers to update them on all of the latest progressions when it comes to Bill C-5, of course, that is being voted on today, but also new policies when it comes to counter tariffs on trade on steel and aluminum that the Prime Minister announced yesterday. July 21st is the big kind of date that he talked about. And what the Prime Minister has made clear since, prior to the election, through meetings prior to the election, meetings with the premiers, is that he would keep them updated on the trade situation, on negotiations with Donald Trump, and on the tariffs and the trade war. And so this is likely, one of those scenarios where the Prime Minister is filling in the premiers on what he talked about yesterday, which is that by July 21st, he will make adjustments to the current tariffs, counter tariffs that are in place on steel and aluminum. In June, Donald Trump upped those tariffs from 25% to 50%. Canada has not reacted to that increase, but the Prime Minister has promised that by July 21st, he'll make adjustments to those tariffs, and that is the same date that has been set as a deadline for both the Prime Minister and President Trump to come to an agreement on a trade deal. They set this 30-day kind of timeline, and the deadline is July 21st. So there's no coincidence there, and it's likely, the Prime Minister is updating the premiers on that situation, as well as you've touched on, Bill C-5 that is being voted on today, a big piece of legislation that this government has been keen on.
Yeah, what do we expect to happen on that front? I know Indigenous leaders have stepped up saying they feel slighted by this bill.
Yeah, there's been pushback. There's no question. Indigenous communities have raised concerns about what the changes would mean for a consultation with Indigenous communities as these projects move forward. Basically, this bill covers two separate things, really. One of them being getting rid of federal barriers to interprovincial trade. There has not been much contention to that part of the bill. That is, of course, something that will be talked about with the premiers in terms of an update on that part of the bill. But the other part is fast-tracking nation-building projects or major infrastructure projects of national interest. And it is proposed that there would be, this fast-track timeline. But Indigenous communities have raised concerns that through fast-tracking and through a shorter approval process, there could be oversight in terms of how much, consideration there is and how much consultation there is with Indigenous communities. So that has been part of the pushback here. Some amendments have been made to the bill. It will be voted on today, and this is a massive piece of legislation that the Carney government has been keen on getting through the House of Commons prior to this summer break. And today is the last day that the House is sitting, so they'll be sitting until that piece of legislation makes its way through the House of Commons.
Okay, could be a long night. Jeremy, thanks so much for this.